Good morning, everybody. I am Jill Burke with Calligraphy Chronicles, and I am here with the fabulous calligrapher Erica Pinto, who
Ah,
also happens to be Canadian.
mhm.
Woohoo, Canada! Yay! Talk a little bit about calligraphy and how it fits into our world, all the stuff. So, Erica, I'm going to jump right in with something hard. What do you think is the one thing that you would change with learning calligraphy if you started all over again?
Oh, wow. That
I
is right
know.
into the deep end.
I like to ask all of the questions
Yeah. Sorry. So what's one thing I would change about myself or about the
about first
environment
learning
or
calligraphy. Like when you first jumped in,
oh,
what was one thing that you wish you would have done right at the start to get through? You
sure.
want to be faster, learn
Yes.
something different, a different order of things.
I mean, ultimately, I'm not a person who harbors regrets. I don't regret the path that I took because obviously it led me to where I am right now, talking to you today. And, if I had to change something, I don't know how that would affect the trajectory of my calligraphy career, but I would have loved to have been able to take a class. I am a self-taught calligrapher for the most part. For better or for worse, there's been a lot of hurdles along the way, just trying to figure things out on my own. But it was sort of a product of the time. I started in 2015. I started learning 10 years ago or 11 years ago after my second son was born. And it was one of those things where I wanted to be creative, have something for myself. So I got out a sketchbook while he was napping and I decided I was going to get back to drawing. That was something that I really love to do. And I sort of stumbled upon the world of calligraphy through Instagram and Facebook. So that classic rabbit hole where 10 hours flies by and you realize, oh yeah, I have other responsibilities. Where have I been for the last little while? But I was just sucked in. I was just completely absorbed in what other people were creating and putting out there. And it was very exciting. And it never occurred to me to look for a class. And in fact, if I had, I don't think there would have been many available, not like what we have now. There are tons of calligraphy classes out there. And mine as well. But it wasn't as easy to just sign up for a workshop and go to a class, or there were tutorials, things like that on YouTube, very short tutorials also on Instagram. But I think I would have liked to have taken a class and to have someone sit me down and talk to me about what modern calligraphy is, where you'll find it, how we can learn it sort of step by step. Because for me, it was just, okay, I see this artist whose work I love. I'm going to try and mimic it. And that's how I do like to learn when I'm doing it on my own. I wouldn't say copy, but it is mimicry. It's sort of looking at those beautiful upstrokes and downstrokes and trying to recreate them myself to the best of my ability, and then sort of taking that and running with it. When I look back on my calligraphy now, 10 years later, sometimes I create, there are some
Well,
things that
sure, we all change at the things we do when we learn something.
but I also, it was the time, and I have a lot of respect for myself as an artist who was just trying to figure it out on their own. It's fine. That's how a lot of us learn. And, I don't, I'm not upset with the way that I started, but it might have been a little bit easier to get going if I had had some guidance. I didn't even have the tools, to be quite honest with you. What I was starting with in the beginning was faux calligraphy. So all those downstrokes, I was drawing them by hand with just a regular pen or pencil. I later tried the dip pen. I'm not a huge dip pen person. If you see my work, it's mostly brush pen. Once I found a brush pen and learned how to use it properly, it was just sort of game over. I've never really looked back. But yeah, so that's all of that to say that I would have loved to have learned from someone in the beginning.
I love though that idea of finding something for yourself when you're home with a baby and
Yes.
not losing. It's such a hard time to start clawing the things
Yes.
back that define us when we have a child,
Yes.
and that child is so fun, so whatever,
Yeah.
snuggly, whatever you like, that it that it's the time most of us start giving away the things
Mhm.
that define us. I
Yes.
love that you were in the antithesis of that and
Mhm.
defining yourself.
Yeah.
It really, as a grandmother of 2 little ones, it's something I always say to my daughter-in-law, "Just don't like, they're not everything. You're still a
Yeah.
person.
You're still a person.
You're still
Yes.
a person.
Yes.
What do you love? What do you do?" Yeah,
Mhm.
I
Mhm.
love that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so when you talk about tools, brush pen's your go-to.
Yes,
Is there anything
absolutely.
else you couldn't live without?
I could not live without my pencil. Pencils, I would say. I love using a
Most
pencil.
overlooked tool from
Yes.
outside of calligraphy. Inside
Yes.
calligraphy, I think that I hear that answer way more than I think. I
Mhm.
calligraphy.
Oh, that's
Art
exciting.
stuff? I'm like,
Yeah.
the pencil seems so first grade. It's like when you graduate from the pencil to the pen, it's so exciting. And then you hit calligraphy and it's the opposite. When you really master the pencil, you're onto
Yes.
something.
Well, I'm a very so one thing I will say is I'm very much a pencil and paper person. So I've tried iPad lettering, I've tried digital. It just doesn't feel right to me. Other people who do it, that's wonderful,
Pencil
but for me, I'm
sounds pretty.
completely analog. Yes. I have always loved the way that a pencil feels when you move it along a piece of paper. Just a regular ordinary piece of paper, scrap paper, whatever it is. I love the connection between the graphite and the paper.
Mm,
To me, that I don't it's very hard to explain, but that feeling is for me, I just zone out completely. I can just be moving it doesn't even have to be to create lettering, just moving it around on a page, doodling, maybe I'm helping my kids with their homework and I'm off to the side doodling something. For me, that is perfection. So I love to use both just regular pencils, like I have my Blackwing pencil there. I use a variety of mechanical pencils. It doesn't really matter. I'll use the dollar store pencils. Those are fine too. We have a ton of those in my house for my kids. They can be really poor quality. I will just take a pencil and use it. For some people, when they work with a pencil, it can feel unfinished. The work can feel unfinished. For me, I can create a piece entirely in pencil and then that's it. Sometimes I think it looks better than when I go back and ink over it and erase. I'll say, oh, I probably should have just left it in its pencil form. I just love the way that it looks. And I tell my students all the time that there's nothing wrong with using a pencil, especially in those early stages when you're drafting an idea, you're working through it, you're making changes. I actually just had a workshop last weekend and I was talking to my students. We were talking about flourishing. And they said to me, like, oh, you don't just do the flourishes with a brush pen right from the beginning. And I said, no, absolutely not. I don't have that ability. Everything is penciled in first. Then I step back from it and I look at it. Is it balanced? Is there something where I could add a little bit of decorative flair to it? What is the mood that I'm trying to create? I go back and I make all those changes with the pencil first. And then I go in with my brush pen or my dip pen and then later erase. So they were a little bit surprised to hear that calligraphers use pencils. And I don't want anyone to ever feel like what they see on Instagram, you know, 10-second video of somebody with a brush pen is how you have to do it. If you look at my own videos, you'll see that there's always a pencil outline there first. So pencil is key.
or you watch Heather Held do I took a little workshop with Heather Held not long ago at Guild, and you watch her do flourishes, you're like, "That's not even possible." Or Robert Brie or someone that just, like they just have
Mhm.
a real mastery of
Yes.
flourishes. What we don't seem to remember as newbies is how long it took them to get there.
Yeah. We
Like,
were all newbies once.
watch Heather do it, it looks so easy, and then when I try
Yeah.
to do it after her, I'm like,
Yeah.
"That's not the same. That's not the same."
No. Yeah,
It seems
absolutely.
so it takes a long time to get
Yeah,
to a point where
yeah.
you can just whip things out.
Mhm. It's regular practice, it's building that muscle memory, if you're not practicing those oval shapes, your flourishes are gonna come out like little tiny snowballs or o other, unidentified shapes on the page, and it's
Unidentified shapes, that's what my book
yeah.
unidentified shape.
And it's frustrating as a student. You're like, "Well, this is not working, so I quit." And that's the last thing that I want you to do. I don't want you to feel like it's not something that you can do with time and practice and the right tools if that's a pencil. If all you ever do is just practice with a pencil, that's fine, I think that's okay.
In fact, I think that's great.
Yes.
Like, what you said earlier about how you lose things in when you pick up the pencil, everything else sort of falls away, and it's if all we gift ourselves with our creative practice is the ability to I mean, that's why we created Calligraphy as Meditation Day. All you do with your med practice is find a place where you're not bombarded by the sounds in your head,
Yes.
then
Yes.
that is all the gift you need. If you end up creating
Absolutely.
something beautiful as well, that's a
Mhm.
bonus.
Exactly. Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. I talk about that a lot with people who are new to calligraphy who come to my classes. Very often they are moms like
Yeah.
myself who are overwhelmed at home. They are tired, or they might not be moms. I have husbands who come with their wives, whatever it is. I have a wide range of students. I have kids who come, which is wonderful too. And they always tell me at the end of the class, this was relaxing. I had a chance to just there was nobody asking for me, demanding things of me. This was my time. And even if it's just those 3 hours and they never take another calligraphy class again, that's fine. Many of them do continue on, and that's wonderful. But they had that time that was just for them, and they were able to just relax, learn something new, try something they've never tried before, or maybe it's something they've always wanted to do and just never had that opportunity. That to me is such a gift. Like I just absolutely love that. And when I get that feedback from the students about how special that time was, like it means everything to me. That's why I love teaching so much. Yeah.
And so you teach online with Kestrel at in Caminas.
Yes.
We'll put a link somewhere. You also teach in person, like people come and they come to your class.
Yeah. Yeah. Mostly in person. Yeah.
Like, and you mostly do in person.
Yes.
And
Yes.
so what do you love to teach? What's your
It's
favorite thing to like show people how to do?
Well, my most popular class is the brush calligraphy class. So it's modern brush calligraphy for
Yeah.
beginners. That class always sells out. Calligraphy is everywhere you look. If you go into a home sense, you'll find pillows and mugs. And if you get a wedding invitation, maybe it's been done in a beautiful calligraphy style. It's very, very ubiquitous and people see it and maybe they have a special event coming up. So they want to learn how to do that type of lettering. So that's always very popular. And I love teaching that class, but it's not the first one that I taught. The first thing that I taught was hand lettering. So actually drawing different styles of letters from beginning to end, not using any brush pens. We were using pencils and microns. And that's sort of where I had gotten my start was in learning how to draw different types of letters before jumping into calligraphy. And I loved that. And I taught that for a little while before sort of shifting my focus more to the brush pen and brush calligraphy. But I do all sorts of things. I had one called The Joy of Handwriting that I did a few
Mm.
times. It was actually based on feedback from students, adult students who were telling me that they didn't have a chance to practice their own cursive handwriting. And they wanted to get back into that either for just for fun or for journaling. So I offered something called The Joy of Handwriting, where we got back to practicing our cursive handwriting. People brought in their fountain pens, their journals, they shared tools that they loved with one another. It was really special. It was really lovely. And I learned so much because I'm not like a regular journaler, at least not bullet journaling. So I got to learn about what types of notebooks people like to use, what types of tools they have in their pen bags. They brought all their fountain pens and all their inks. One woman brought all of her ink swatches. It was really incredible. Like that's a whole other world to
It
explore.
is a whole other world.
It is. It's amazing.
It feels like it should be the same world, but
Yeah.
it is.
And there's a lot of crossover, right?
And honestly, I call them the calligraphy adjacents, right?
Yes.
Like, the iPad thing with
Mhm.
Procreate, that feels
Yep.
calligraphy adjacent to me.
Oh, yeah.
There's murals, flip
Mhm.
and love graffiti more than anything else there.
Yeah,
It's
that is
my
cool.
favorite thing. Next
Yeah.
year at the festival, I'm hoping to get, I won't say who because he's coming anyway to teach, but I don't want to nail him down to what he's teaching yet. I'm gonna get someone that's gonna teach graffiti.
That is amazing. I would
That's
I would sign up for that in a heartbeat. That is
Well,
that is
okay,
really
so I'll
cool.
tell you what we're gonna do. I want the graffiti in my living room on my wall, so I have it forever.
Nice. Yeah.
Yeah, so
Absolutely.
yeah. So if you
Yeah.
come to next year's festival, you could paint my living room wall for me.
That would be so much fun.
I don't know.
We can have a graffiti party.
I just like there's just so many ways once you get a little bit of comfort with it, there's
Mhm.
just so many ways you can take this and move it into like
Yes.
when I talk to people, especially when I do outside media interviews, when I'm talking to like CBC or CTV or whatever, the first
Mhm.
question they always ask is calligraphy still relevant? Right? Like, and I'm like,
Yeah.
oh, and I actually have to,
How much time do you have, interviewer?
right? And
Yeah.
if I ask you that question, is calligraphy still relevant and how? What would your answer
Yeah.
be?
Absolutely it is. Absolutely. Like, without a doubt. I do get that question. I get like, I get even basic, like, is handwriting even important anymore? Why do kids need to be learning handwriting in school, cursive in school? I mean, there's the scientific reasons for it in terms of the brain to hand connection and activating all those neurons. Like, that's really, really important. But there's also that fulfillment of our creativity, like, I just feel like without it, I don't know what I would be doing right now for myself as an artist. Certainly, there are other things I could be exploring, but calligraphy has just opened up this whole world for me that I could not have imagined, 15 years ago. And the connections with other people who believe in, writing or connecting with other people through stationery and lettering and calligraphy. Like, it's this beautiful community that I'm so grateful to be a part of, and it absolutely is still relevant. It's especially in a world that is so digital. I mean, I'm sure we've heard this, so digital. There's so much AI slop. That's a whole other thing, right? It is so important that we keep handwriting and calligraphy alive and thriving now more than ever. So, like, I'm on a mission to do that. Yeah.
What I think a lot of people have said this, but Elizabeth Gilbert, we just did her book, that whole
Mhm.
idea of I don't know what I think until I write about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And if you can't sit down and express your thoughts in something long bigger than emojis and shorthand on a
Yes.
how do
Yes.
we know what we think about something and how do we investigate how our thoughts form us as humans?
Mhm. That's right.
And I really
Absolutely.
think that calligraphy is whether you're just writing a word or you're doing something pretty,
Mhm.
most of the time you will evolve into doing a larger project, which is
Mhm.
maybe a piece of some poetry, a quote,
Mhm.
maybe scripture if
Mhm.
that's your thing. And as you write it, it really changes the way that piece of whatever it is that is important to you, that verse
Yes.
resonates in your soul and grows the
Yes.
rest of your thinking.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I agree with you 100%. A lot of my work is, if you look in my sketchbook, it's a lot of quotes. I go around looking for special quotes, poetry, lyrics from my favorite songs. And I can go back and look at that later on, like years later, and remember what was going on in my life at the
Mhm.
time that I gravitated towards those words and the way that I presented them, the choices that I made in terms of tools or colors or layout. I can feel those things again. That's how I process the world around me,
Yeah.
especially in a difficult time, I find that it has so much meaning to me. So yeah, my sketchbook, my journal is not me writing a diary. I'm not that type of I've never been able to keep that sort of thing up,
Yeah.
but it's a visual diary that has meaning to me and that I can place those times and events just in a different way.
Yeah.
So, you know,
Yeah.
if that makes sense.
Did the artist journey earlier this year. I'm gonna do it again. I mean, as part of that, you journal 3 pages every day, and
Mhm.
that has been, I think, the single most important change I made this year in my thing. I mean, I sometimes get
Mhm.
lost in it, and it's 15 pages, but even just the ordering of my thoughts in the morning and putting it all in order it's been great.
Absolutely, yeah.
So, biggest game changer, if you were gonna pick up a pencil, do you like, is there a kind of pencil that makes a big difference in your work? You know, like those
Yeah,
magic tools that we all think
yeah.
gonna pick up this pen and suddenly it's gonna but are there tools that you find just really are essential to a more beautiful finished project?
Yeah, I mean, first thing I will say is it depends on the person. When I teach a workshop, I bring all of my pens with me and I put them in little buckets and my students are welcome to try them out and take them and test them out. And I will get feedback from the students. Some will say, "Oh, you know what? I don't love this pen. It doesn't feel right to me."
Mhm.
I think that's really important is trying out different tools because what I love, another student may not enjoy at all. It might not feel right. The amount of ink that comes out might be too much or too little for them, so it's definitely a personal choice. I won't say that. I mean, do you wanna know specific brands of tools that I like to use or
Thing that's spectacular to you and you can't live without it.
Mhm. I mean, again, it's the regular pencil, one that you sharpen. I have to have one of those. I have to have a mechanical pencil. I have to have a really good eraser. That's really important if you're working with pencil. The erasers are not all the same, and some of them will leave like a residue, and some of them will not erase as well. So a really, really good eraser. I have a kneaded eraser as well, which I think
Yeah.
is really important. And then a really good small tip brush pen.
Uh,
At least one in black, because most of my work is done in black and most client pieces are done in black. And then also a whole assortment of different colors. I think playing is the best part. I love taking different color pens, maybe blending the two together. Like, I think having a nice variety of colors to choose from is really fun. So, but if you don't have that, like, I also want people to know that it's harder now to find art supplies, especially if you want to shop locally from,
yeah.
from local stores. A lot of the ones that were in my area have closed down. It is a lot harder to find. So, I mean, if you don't have the
Do you know
fanciest
Aaron
brush pen,
Nelson?
no. Yes, Aaron. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
He's
Mhm.
got a great list of all the Canadian art suppliers.
That's good. That's what we need.
I will forward it to you or get her to forward it to you. Uh,
Sure, that would be
it's
great.
it's how I met her actually. She put out this list and I'm like, "Holy crap, Erica, that or Erin, that's fantastic."
Yeah, yeah. It's really important. We want to support our local businesses. So, I mean, if you can't get out to one in your area and all you have is a regular, 2B pencil from Dollarama, that's fine. There's nothing wrong with that. You can certainly get started with that. I don't think that it has to be a matter of going out and buying, fancy paper or fancy pens before you're ready. So use what you have at home. That's how I started. Don't be afraid to use what you've already got. Crayola markers, if that's all your kids have some Crayola markers lying around, you can use
Make a mark.
those.
Just make a mark.
Yeah, make a mark. Absolutely.
Yeah,
Absolutely. Yeah.
yeah. So, what else do we want to talk about, Erica? Do you have anything else you want to tell me? Any other stories?
Well, I will say one thing. I was excited to talk to you today because I want people to know that modern calligraphy is something for everyone. I want everyone to feel welcome to come in and try modern calligraphy. When we go out there and we type in calligraphy, we might come across, copperplate, Spencerian, italic, broad edge, things with broad edge. But I really want modern calligraphy to have its place as well and to be recognized as a legitimate form of calligraphy. And that's not to say that it's not, but there have been some people that I've encountered over the years who feel that modern calligraphy is just a bunch of, haphazard scribbles on a page. It's impossible to read. It's undisciplined. And I'm I'm trying to push back against that, especially in my own work and in my teaching, to invite people in to give it a try, even people who have started in traditional hands and maybe have just sort of been sitting in that space. I think there is a lot that modern calligraphy can offer traditional calligraphers. And so I'm really trying to get them to see that modern calligraphy can really give you an opportunity to express yourself, your voice, your personal aesthetic. It's not just about sort of that craft of calligraphy where we are focused on very, very rigid letter forms and spacing and slants. That is important. Having some structure is important,
Yep.
but modern calligraphy invites you to play. It really invites you to explore and to innovate. And that's what I love about that's what grabbed me first. That's why I didn't go the traditional route first. I found modern calligraphy.
Yeah.
I started there, and now I am dabbling in the more traditional hands and incorporating that into what I do as a modern calligrapher. You can certainly bring all those styles together. But I want people who maybe have looked at modern and said, that looks tacky, that's not for me, to realize that there is something there for you. You have to find the right people maybe?
Yeah. Well, and truthfully, is it if beauty's in the eye of the beholder
Absolutely. Yes,
100% of the
yes,
time.
yes, yes,
And like we said earlier, like finding something that makes you wanna pick up your tool and make
yes,
marks, that's
yes,
that's that's the first rule of having fun with this.
yes,
Does it make you wanna do it?
yes,
And if you're not
exactly.
having fun, you're not gonna
That's exactly it. That's exactly it.
so if
Yep.
you had to judge everybody thinks that there's a lot of natural talent that goes into calligraphy. I think that it's a lot of practice that goes into good calligraphy.
It certainly is. That's without a doubt.
Right? Without
Yep.
without the thing that drives you to pick it up and do it. You must have been a bit of an artist before you started calligraphy because you talked about drawing in the letters.
Yes, yes. So I went to an arts high school. So I was in a visual arts program there for 4 years. We didn't do any We might have done a little bit of calligraphy, but I have no memory of it. We certainly the one thing I do remember was the one unit where we got to explore typography and incorporating that into our drawing. So having a title that you get to choose the font and then you're replicating. So it's hand lettering
Yeah.
essentially, and you're drawing it out. And I loved it. And I thought at one point, I was like, well, if I was to go into an arts career, maybe I'll become somebody in the advertising field, something with art and design. But after high school, I kind of just left it all behind and went into the sciences. I actually just kind of abandoned the arts altogether, went into climate change research, spent years working in environmental nonprofits. And once I stopped and had my kids and took a break, that's when I got back into it. So, yes, I was thinking it made sense that I would probably be drawing something or sketching or painting, right? Those were those sort of fundamental techniques that I had learned in high school, and I thought I would get back to that. But calligraphy had other plans for me. So,
It just
yeah,
roped you in.
like really sucked me in. And I'm still in the grip of it. I love it. I love it. And I get excited when other people are excited about it
Well,
too.
honestly, I'm in a weird spot in calligraphy. I don't really do it myself. I
Hmm.
dabble slightly, but the community.
Yes, it's wonderful.
I don't know if it's if calligraphy has some kind of magic sifting powder where it just like sifts out everybody that's just,
Yeah, yeah,
or if it just transforms you like magic. I don't know what it is, if it's like a wand
yeah,
like Harry Potter or if it's but the people that are involved in calligraphy are
yeah,
and they're smart and they're
yes,
empathetic and they're
yes.
articulate, like it's not,
Yes.
uh,
And they're generous with their time, their
so
knowledge.
generous.
So that was one of the things that helped me in the early days learning on my own was I could reach out to somebody and ask them a question and they'd be like, "Yeah, sure. Here's where I found this. Here's where I'm learning this, let me show you."
Yeah,
And I try to make that a part of my approach now as well. Like some people will ask me questions on Instagram and they'll say, "Oh, I'm sorry to take your time." To me, I'm happy to help if I can. It's no trouble for me. I always tell my students, you can reach out to me via email, via Instagram. Let me know what you want to learn. That's how I develop other classes as well. Like what piques your interest. If it's something that I can do, I will do it for you.
yeah,
I try to give back in that way. And the community is really wonderfully supportive, very positive.
yeah.
I'm very lucky, at least for now. I don't have a lot of trolls in my DMs. People who come are there because they want to be there. They want to see the art. They want to share. Yeah, yeah.
And so what would you learn next? What's next on your things that are
Well, I am sort of casually learning Spencerian. And I say casually because I'm kind of approaching it the way I did modern calligraphy in the beginning. I haven't yet taken a course. It is on my list to do when I can find the time. But right now I'm just working with books and things that I find online. And again, just mimicking the style and running with it. I have this habit of like once I feel like I have an alphabet down, I have some sort of maybe misguided confidence that I can create a piece with it. And then I'm sure I'll look back on it after learning properly and say, well, I made a huge bunch of mistakes, and that's fine. I'm not worried about that. I'm just enjoying the process.
in the process. But if you do
Yeah,
want to learn from somebody, Michael Saul's gonna be in Calgary,
that's awesome. That is
and
so great.
the master at teaching Spencerian. So,
Yes.
I know you've got
Yes.
little kids, it's not always easy to just take off to the other end of the country for a week, but, just dangling
That's
it,
amazing.
just dangling
That
it out
is
there for you.
that's very tempting.
So before we
Yeah.
go,
Mhm.
I this is a question I always like to ask everyone at the end. Tell me
Sure.
something wonderful that's happened to you in the last little bit.
My gosh. About calligraphy or just anything in
A
thing?
wonderful thing.
I will tell you a wonderful thing. Today is my birthday. I just turned 45 today. And it is wonderful. I woke up with a feeling of gratitude. I'm not afraid to get older. I'm embracing it. I've got my grays going.
And
And that
they're
is
still more visible today than they will be tomorrow. My
oh no, I've got it too. Yeah, no,
yeah,
I'm very happy. I'm just grateful for another year around the sun, and I'm excited for what the year is going to bring. Yesterday, I spent the day with my husband because we're both busy today. We spent the day celebrating yesterday. We went out, we had lunch, and it was nice just to spend that time together because we haven't had much time together between work and the kids. Yeah, that's sort of where I am. I'm not looking for anything grand. I just want to have time with my family and the people that matter to me. Yeah, so today is a special day, and I'm spending it with you, which is
Funny you say, and
wonderful. Yeah.
I'm grateful. Well, thank you so much, Erica.
Jill,
I will put links to your classes in the show notes. So if
thank
somebody
you.
wants to study with you, they find the links and
Thank
go
you.
ahead and take a class. And if you're in
This
this
was
area, you can find a class
yes.
there.
Yes.
I'll I'll put your Instagram and stuff in the show notes. And I think you have all your live classes. You post them up on those kind of venues. So people can
Yes. Thank
find them and
you.
take a class. Take a class. See if you
Yeah.
like.
Please,
It's
please.
not, it's not a big commitment to take one.
No, and it doesn't have to be with me. I tell my students,
Yeah.
go out and learn with all sorts of teachers
Yeah.
because everyone does it differently. Everyone has their own take on it. You might find something that you really love, something that really grabs
Yeah.
you, and you can bring it into your practice. Learn from everyone.
Absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Thank you again, Erica. Have a
Thank you,
wonderful
Jill.
birthday. I hope everything happens that's marvelous for you this year.
Thank you. Same to you.